Yay! Hello, hello. Welcome, everybody. So glad that you're here. My name is Laveena, and we are live from Mount Shasta, California, and we are doing a RAVE ABCs open house. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to teach a little bit today, and then I'm going to give you a rundown of what to expect and what I expect of you. Mercury just shifted. What I expect from you in looking at this RAVE ABCs program. So congratulations if you're here and you've finished living your design, which is the first step in the official human design tract. You've made it to a place where now officially, according to the International Human Design School, once you start this course, your clock is now ticking for your deconditioning of your experiment. As far as we will not let you become a certified analyst until you've had at least 3.5 years of fully embracing, investigating, diving into this experiment professionally for yourself. So this is the first step. The Human Design Professional Foundations, there's 3 classes, but when you get to this one, this is the second class in the series, we know that you have some level of awareness about yourself and about others, and that you know that this is something that can truly help both empower, uplift, help provide transformation and support, and share what it's like to be a human on this planet that is waking up, quote unquote, waking up to an awareness of self that goes beyond just self, but also your interaction with other people. So that's one of the things that we're going to be looking at when we start to digest and break down how to read a chart. You're not only going to learn how your design works, but also how you interface with other people. So the benefits of that and the benefits of human design overall is that it'll awaken you to your true nature. You'll gain an understanding of not only you in the world, but also your relationship or your role between you and the totality of existence. It will allow your life purpose to begin to flow through you, and it'll explain why you don't actually have to go and find your purpose. Your purpose finds you if you're living in alignment. If you align to your design, there's correct action that arises from being in harmony with the flow of life. The alchemy of being yourself means that you've decided to embark on a journey. We call this the passenger journey. The passenger journey is one where in the beginning, when you find human design, you may have found it from a place of, real deep angst or anxiety or frustration or depression, or you might have found it from this place of, wow, here's another cool tool. Either way, on some level, there's a part of you that is in resistance to what life is as you move through life. Moving through life in resistance isn't fun, isn't it? We have anger, we have disappointment, we have frustration, we have bitterness, sometimes deep, deep resentment, sometimes depression. And usually it's in resistance to what our mind is taking in from the outside world, which is deeply conditioned. Our mind is deeply conditioned to take in the outside world in a specific way, a way that might have created belief systems within your life, your negative belief systems that aren't serving you. It's time to let go of that. Would you like to let go of that? I'm inviting you into the experiment right now, especially those of you who have signed up with me. This is what we're going to go on. We're going to go on a journey together, you and I, and everyone else in the group, where we're going to discover the ways that the conditioned mind has held you back, even deeper than what you learned in living your design. I'm going to show you a lot more of the conditioning factors in your life and how it relates with you and the other person when you're in interaction. So in this journey, in the beginning, there might be a lot of angst, to put it lightly. Depends on where you're at in your personal development and how old you are and how much you've been conditioned. Now, as we move through this passenger journey, you might still be wanting to go in a different direction, but your body starts to relax. So about 3.5 years in, you start to feel more settled, more grounded, more embodied, more content, less distracted, less unhappy, less challenged, especially when life comes up and gives you a lot of that painful reenactment of past experiences where you have those wounds, particularly relational wounds. You don't have the same level of reactivity or projection the responsiveness of your vehicle becomes much more aligned to the peace and clarity and success and satisfaction and joy and delight in what life has to offer you, and you have less and less resistance. So that's why we want you to be at 3.5 years before you become an analyst, because analysts have a very special job of being able to transmit this information to another person. And when you transmit information to another person, you have to be on a level where you can not only meet the other person where they're at, remembering what it was like to be deconditioned or in a really challenged state, and bring them up to a level where you can see that they are designed to be able to go empowering and uplifting. And you can only do that if you are living your design, and living your design from a place of alignment, not living your design from a place of disempowerment and disillusionment, and not misidentifying with the not self, we call it in human design, the conditioned mind, without being able to take that information and living it. If you don't know what it's like to live the not self, and you can't meet that person where they're at, and then bring them up to a different level, you may not be able to do the job of an analyst as impactful as we know you could if you had the 3.5 years to decondition. And that's the reason why. So again, congratulations for being here. When you get to this point of, oh, I'm not trying to go in a different direction anymore. I'm okay with who I am and what life asks of me, with following my own authority. That's when you get to this place where the frequency changes in your design. The frequency of you as a being, all of us have movement, light, sound, matter, all this energy that's in constant flux and flow. We are all filters of this consciousness field that we're being bombarded with through the particles, the neutrino particles that are floating through, just penetrating all of us. And all of us are either resonant or vibrating or maybe in disharmony or distraction. We're at somewhere along this level and this flow. And you can deeply influence, contagiate, impress, empower, uplift other people depending on where you're vibrating from, because everything is vibration, everything is movement. So this passenger journey that I'm going to take you on in RAVE ABCs, it's deeply impactful and empowering. It's going to enhance how your body works. You're going to be able to see different areas of your design, even deeper than an LID, where you are raised up in your level of awareness of how we are designed as humans, so that your unique cognition, the way your differentiated perspective and mind is designed to both take in and express action and communication in the world. So you're going to realign yourself, repattern yourself to a new level, a new way of being in the world, so that you operate correctly, aligning to the frequency of your life, so that you can embody this spiritual person that you are, this energy and movement and matter. Aligning to what's correct for you will reveal your personal path. Again, you don't need to look for it. It will start to live through you. Your direction and seeing will change. It will realign. And this is a lot to do with you following strategy and authority. That's the benefit of human design, is it will realign you so that you're seeing more in alignment with how you're designed to see, so that you can clearly recognize the direction, the path. In human design, we call them the nodes of the moon. Your future and past direction will be more clear. That path, it's almost like it's lit up by, remember that story about Hansel and Gretel, I think it was, where she left breadcrumbs? It's like there's little breadcrumbs along the way now. When you are aligned to your design and you know your design, you've got these keynotes, you've got these recognitions that you can be empowered with. And that's what we're going to go through in this ABCs class, so that you have an accurate mapping of not only what path not to go down, again, that's the conditioned mind, but the path that you're designed to tread. So this human design system is a tool to transform your conditioning so that you're nourished by your experience of life rather than attaching to those experiences and creating suffering through the deeply conditioned mind. So a little bit of a review from LYD. You remember how we had that magnetic monopole, and that monopole sits here in the G center. This is the driver. This is your life's direction. Everything is being pulled to you so that you can either respond to it or you can be invited by it. You can be recognized for it. You can be asked for it. You can decide that this is your way of impacting that. Monopole, the driver, is not your conscious thinking mind's perspective. It's a mechanic. Your personality crystal, the soul that is you, that was you before time was time, the essential eternal aspect of you, is a passenger in this vehicle, not the driver of the vehicle. So this design crystal is the vehicle that I'm talking about. Your body has an imprint, it has a correct limitation and a correct potential. And this awareness of that which is you to create some kind of solidity about how you are designed to move through life, the embodiment of you, comes from the definition in your design. And that gives us an essence of your spirit, the availability that you have to engage in life in a way that's fulfilling and satisfying and successful. This is how we empower you to be able to be who you were designed to be, who you were born to be. See this personality crystal again is the passenger consciousness of this vehicle. Here's your body, which comes from the design crystal, and this driver, this person in the front here, is actually just a mechanical attraction and love and geometry, the direction in space. This is all coming from this G center right here, specifically gate 2. That is the driver. So it's not about what you think about your life. Life happens to us, and we are going along for a ride. So I remember back in 2012, when I was the not self passenger, boy, was I a mess. I could give you all kinds of stories about that. I'll share that for private sessions in the group because it really is quite dramatic and embarrassing and just not a pretty picture. Basically, I was still a child in 2012, which was about 6 years ago. I'm still growing up. My Uranus opposition will be in about 3 years when I will be 44. But as a not self passenger, you might find that there's a lot of people out there behaving in this way, childish. Somewhere along the growing up phase, they had a moment of deep trauma and there's an arrested development. And then they keep recreating that trauma where they're continually making decisions based on not self, based on openness, as an example, if you take a look at my design. And I'm not going to go into too much detail, but we'll just pick on my open, undefined heart center. So this is a person who's deeply fearful for her survival, doesn't know when enough is enough, always trying to understand and solve the mysteries, has no idea how intelligent she is because her mind is not consistent, and is deeply, deeply disempowered. Gate 21, line 3. We're looking at powerlessness. So somebody who is desperately trying to manipulate and control other people in order to ensure her survival. Not a pretty picture. Someone who got really angry when there was a lot of things that she couldn't control, and so would lash out in anger in order to try to attempt to control the movie. So that's my not self passenger. Now, as a deconditioning passenger, you might find, and you're somewhere along this line, there's only 4 cars here, you're somewhere along this line right now. So I want you to go through this as I describe it and ask yourself, where are you at? Are you here where vast majority of the time you're deeply, deeply, deeply angry, bitter, resentful, frustrated, or disappointed about life? So let's say it's 80%. A not self passenger, 80% of the time, they're messed up. if we continue on our journey, we find our human design, we're starting to follow it. We're starting to feel at home with whatever it is that our personal authority is, then the mind, still deeply conditioned, may still want something different than what life is bringing, but will not be this crazy, chaotic mess. Definitely not 80% of the time. Calmer, quieter, more aware, more alert. Because you know, when you're this mess, when you're deeply emotional and you're running around as an emotional person or not, if you're making decisions in any kind of chaotic way based on fear, anger, frustration, bitterness, disappointment, those decisions are not coming from the home of that which it is you are. So when you're looking at being a deconditioning passenger now, you're starting to align to you, but your mind is still distracted. So I'm hoping that this is where you're at least, that you're at least here where this deconditioning passenger, yes, you can see that your mind is still talking to you and wants something different. And this is the biggest tool I have to offer you, if that's where you're at, is to remember to watch those thoughts, because those thoughts aren't necessarily you. They're coming from openness. If you look at all this openness in the design, and that's what we're going to look at when we take a look at breaking down everyone's designs in this class, in this ABCs class, as we move forward. I'm going to teach you the circuitry that you are deeply attracted to other people and amplifying from other people, and how you're drawn away from your design. And a lot of it has to do with these, we call them dormant potentials out here in the open and undefined centers, where you get pulled into something that is not necessarily you, and that's what you're thinking. So before human design, I could rationalize anything. I thought I was a really great rationalizer. And yes, for other people, if they ask me and invite me, I could help you rationalize a lot of different things and help collaborate with you to get it to your inner truth. But if I was rationalizing for my own sake and trying to make decisions based on my own insights and my own rationalizations, that's where it is that I get lost. So we're going to help empower you so that you understand how this works for you. The mechanics of the body graph do not lie. There are so many empowering things that I'm so excited to teach you, because ABCs is my favorite class to teach. And if you're here at the deconditioning passenger place, you're starting to see things clearly. You're starting to recognize things clearly, and you can say to yourself, my mind thinks that, and not necessarily identify with the mind I voice as the true you. Can you see what it is that I mean? Because I want you to really grasp that the things that you think about inside of your head are not yourself. And if you took my LYD, you probably heard me say that a lot. You cannot trust the mind's voice. So what, again, the empowering thing that I want you to do is to reframe your inner thoughts and say, my mind thinks that. And watch this at this level, deconditioning passenger, you get to see how your body, my body is doing this while my mind thinks that. And it's a really chaotic and confusing time for a lot of people to think, wow, I'm thinking this, but I'm watching my mind, my body do that. If you can differentiate between the body, which is just doing its thing in the flow of its own life moving, and keep the mind from interfering with the body, this is where you're well on the way of the deconditioning passenger. Much easier to wake up the form, human design is form knowledge, than it is to wake up the mind. The conditioned mind, if you're an adult, will be with you for the rest of your life. But you don't have to do anything based on what your mind says. And I'm going to empower you with the wheres, why withals, and the hows, and the reasons that your mind might give you for pulling you away from what is your home, your authority, your strategy, which helps you access your authority. So as a surrendering passenger now, you can see that she's not pointing down some other path, some different way than where the driver is taking her, where the vehicle is taking her. And now she's surrendering. She's got her hands raised. She's like, whoop, well, here we go. We're going this way. Okay, I'm watching. I'm going down this path, and now my eyes are more open. The blinders are off. Back here, she's got blinders. She's looking over there. She wants her life to be that way. Over here, now her hair's not frazzled anymore. She's more relaxed. And that's what happens after some time in the experiment, where your body is no longer stressed and frazzled and frustrated and angry because your mind isn't trying to control the body's movement. And this is where we have the grace and the acceptance. When we align with our strategy and authority, when we engage in life in the way that life is asking of us to engage with it, then we discover a level of peace that we've never felt before. We discover a level of success that we never dreamed of before. We are satisfied with the work that we do. We're energized. Everything that we need comes to us when we need it. You get what you get when you're aligned with your design, and it's all okay. You still have pain. You might still have suffering in your life. There's still losses. There's still reasons why one might be sad. But the energy of resistance doesn't hit you in the same way. You don't get these long, drawn-out periods of deep frustration, anger, or bitterness that can stay with you for weeks, if not months, if not years. So that's my hope for you, is that if I take you on this journey with me, we're going to deepen your experiment, because this is where we really start to tick down that clock in ABCs, because we're going to empower you and we're going to engage you further into this experiment to commit. So I want to invite you during this 2 months that we have together, for the next 2 months, and that's not the end. There's always going to be support groups, study groups within this class. Even if you never go on to any other classes with me, I usually will do some kind of way of engaging with you, the students who have completed this class, on a regular basis, so that we can continue to engage in the journey. But these 2 months of weekly classes, I want to ask you to really commit to your experiment. So it's just 1 week at a time. Can you do this 1 week at a time? There's a myth that it takes 21 days to form a new habit. What the research says about how many days it takes to change a habit is that it takes more than 2 months before this new behavior becomes automatic, the 66 days to be exact. And there's a study published in the European Journal of Social Psychology that is what I'm referencing to. And so where this came from a guy named James Clear. Follow some of his blogs. I really like the way he writes. It's very clear, interestingly enough. So this is the 3 R's of habit formation. If you're coming into this experiment, and you just did LYDs, which I know a couple of you have just done Living Your Design, and you're now going further deeper into ABCs. There are probably some really challenging habits that you've picked up from childhood now into adulthood that maybe aren't serving you. You know, the open, not self strategies that are coming from the openness in your design, it's time to let go of those. You don't need those anymore, because now you've got a new strategy. You've got a strategy and an authority that empowers you to be you. And if you could just commit to you, show up to class. I really would like you to show up to class if you can all make it. If you don't show up to class for whatever reason, I'm still going to work with your chart so you can catch up with the recording. I just want you to send me questions so that we can work with your chart, okay, if you do that. But committing to creating a new habit requires a reminder. And your reminder, this cue or trigger that starts the new habit, as an example, traffic light turns green, then you go off. This is like the green light to go, green for go, right? So you're green for go to change your habit of, let's say I'm going to pick up on my design. Let's go here and go back to my undefined heart center. This new habit, okay, I feel powerless. Specifically, I feel powerless, so I'm going to decide to make a promise to prove to that person, I'm not powerless, I'll show you. I feel powerless, I'll show you. That's my trigger, because I know I should never, ever, ever try to make a promise that would engage me with, you know, my deep relational wound, which is what happens with Venus. There's a relational wound there, where in relationship, I can feel deeply powerless and react in anger and want to prove something to somebody, so we'll make a decision without being recognized and invited. You see how we're taking this specifically from LYD? You were just talking about, oh, well, I feel unworthy and undervalued. That's the general gist of it. And I think I have something to prove. Now what we're going to do is make sure that you're engaged and aware of the specifics in a deeper way. This is about supporting the tribe. So supporting the tribe and being in control of one's material is something that's deeply important to me. I value this. I want to make sure that all of us succeed as a group, but I can't do that unless you recognize and invite me, and I can be allowed to implement my teaching, my style of sharing and empowering in my own way. So I learned through trial and error. I learned this the hard way, that I have to be recognized and invited by each of you. So this is what I'm doing. I'm inviting you into this experiment, and to remember, anytime you have an undefined center and you're getting triggered, I've got to prove something. There's my trigger. I'm going to go into a new routine. Rather than opening my mouth and making a promise, I'm going to take a different action, do a different course. My habit now is to take a deep breath and allow and witness and watch and wait for the recognition and invitation. And then I have to wait further for emotional clarity. Now, if I can just get to that place instead of getting into that knee-jerk reaction of anger and response of giving you something to talk about, I'm going to make a promise, I'm going to prove. If I can get myself to stop and take a deep breath instead of opening my mouth and making some kind of commitment I'm going to regret later, or say something or throw something or whatever it happens to be, if I can just stop right there, pattern interrupt. We're going to, as the example here, traffic light turns green, driving through the intersection. My example is take a deep breath. I took a deep breath. Boy, I feel better already. And you know what? Now I need to reward myself, because it's not just about that deep breath. It's about re-engaging my recognition of what I'm here to be in this life, empowering myself to do something different, to reward myself, pat on the back, V for victory, go out and take myself to a nice spa, or give myself a little, encouragement, whatever it is, talk to a friend and celebrate my win. Whatever it is that empowers you most. Do not eat as a reward, by the way. That doesn't work. No eating sweets and chocolate as the reward, because we don't want to get you all out of sugar balance and filled with candida. But the reward is going to be a benefit that you gain from doing this habit. So this example, you get closer to your destination. My example, my reward, my benefit is feeling victorious, feeling successful, because I have changed now some kind of level of conditioning that has been in my family probably for generations, where we are submitting. Okay, now we're looking at this being tribal, and we're going to learn about the circuitry in this course. All tribal activations are about dominance and submission, because there is a hierarchy within tribes. And what I was trained to do was to submit to the other person's desires, wants, needs, so that I could prove I was a good person, so that I wouldn't leave me, so that I could give and nourish and nurture that other person, take care of them. I was the parent that learned how to parent my parents because they were so messed up, and learned how to put them first, not put myself first. So my reward now is, my God, what an amazing way to be able to reparent yourself from conscious awareness of changing deeply embedded negative belief systems and patterns. I'm powerless. I'm not good enough. There's something wrong with me. Just not correct for me. Shake it off. That person doesn't see me, recognize me, value me. If I feel powerless with them and they're trying to control me and they're trying to take advantage of me, I know that they're not for me. So I can take a deep breath and I can let go. Because if they're not inviting me to be in control, as a gate 21 with a line 3, I am nourished by being in control of my own material well-being, because this is the stream of capitalism. We're going to talk about streams of circuitry in the design in this class, and this is where I am here to profit, not for me, but for the tribe that I serve. I'm here to be in control and implement in the way that I recognize is a benefit to all of my tribe, in a third line way, which is determinedly discovering what the material path is. And this is when I finally got this, it really made a huge difference in my awareness of who was correct for me, my discernment, if you will, which is so important, not only for everyone, but especially projectors. We need to help you discern what is the correct conditioning for you. And you're going to see how all this fits into the puzzle pieces as we go through this course. So again, reward. If that reward is positive, oh, self-esteem, there's nothing wrong with me. I don't have to try and struggle or fight to be in control or prove or get angry. God, such a relief to not have to get angry and break really expensive things anymore. Back in the day, 6-7 years ago, before I became interested and engaged in human design and actually entered the experiment, I would break things on a regular basis. Expensive, it didn't matter. Actually, the more expensive, the more angry I got, the more I wanted to just throw something, damage something. And I damaged not just things, but relationships along the way. So let's go back to the positive reward. We are, as humans, conditioned, trained to go away from pain and towards pleasure. So if you reward yourself with a pleasurable action, then you have a desire to repeat the action next time. That reminder, I'm powerless, breathe deep. You'll do that. And this is what repetition, this practice that I'm going to ask you to engage in with me for the next 8 weeks. I'm going to ask you to do this so that this will form a new habit for you. So can you commit? Thanks so much for coming. Take care. Bye for now.